Auction is now closed. The silent auction is closed. Make your final marks over there. Toward the end of the evening, we'll have the winners of all the silent auction items displayed on the screen, and you can pay for your items outside the doors at the check-in tables where you checked in. We hope you've enjoyed the dinner and the delicious desserts, if you've made it to desserts. Let's thank the hotel wait staff for their serving us this evening. A year ago, our community had 4 operating abortion facilities. And thanks be to God and the efforts of so many pro-life groups and individuals, we are now down to 2 operating abortion facilities. I remember the day that Whole Woman's Health closed. I text Heather immediately, and Dr. Joe, I work right across the street from Whole Woman's Health, and had heard just whispers of that it's closing, and walked out my doors and saw that it was closed and went and did the interview over there, and it was just amazing. But Heather was the first person I text to let her know. This is a great victory, but we still have so much more work ahead of us. Now I'd like to introduce you to our Executive Director, Heather Gardner. Heather has served full-time in the pro-life movement for more than 5 years. I'm sure she has been in the full-time movement. Every breathing moment that she's awake is evangelizing somehow pro-life. But she served as our executive director for 3 years now. Please welcome Heather to the podium.
Howdy. There are hundreds of people in this room, so I know you can do better than that. Howdy. All right, I'll give you a break because you might have food in your mouth or whatever. So those of you who have been here at our dinner for the last 2 years, you know now that what I'm about to do, I did for the last 2 years, and so that means it's a tradition. So I'm going to go ahead and survey the room. How many Longhorns do we have in the house? Okay. And how many, I know we have some already, how many Aggies do we have in the house? All right. Well, you know what? When you put Aggies and Longhorns together, you get love. There you go. So that's what we're here. That was so cheesy. Oh, okay. It's great to be in this community, obviously in Austin, where we have a lot of Longhorns, but we have a lot of Aggies too. But no matter what, we're united for life. That's what we're here for. We're united to serve our mighty and powerful God. And so I have a limited amount of time up here. I'm going to do my very, very best to share with you all of the amazing things that have been happening with the Central Texas Coalition for Life just in the last year. So bear with me, and I know Audrey's going to help keep me on schedule too. So first of all, before I go on with my report, I would like to recognize, hopefully they don't have food in their mouth right now, I would like to recognize our board members. So if you are a board member of the Central Texas Coalition for Life, please stand so that we can applaud you. Thank you. I know we have Mark Messick, we have Nicola Morrison, Abby Johnson, and Pastor Rod Miner, and Debbie Wiemeyer is also here. Lori DeVillas is also a board member of ours. She couldn't be here with us this evening, but she sends her love, and she is just amazing and praying all over this whole evening with us tonight. All right, so in January, we had our Roe versus Wade Memorial, which many of you have participated in. We want this to continue to grow, and what this is it's where we recognize in a special way the children that have lost their lives at the local abortion facilities by bringing flowers to the prayer vigil with us and honoring them and leaving flowers in that way. And so definitely mark your calendar for January 22nd of 2015. Can't believe we're in 2015 almost. We will be having, again, our annual Roe versus Wade memorial with flowers being brought to the local abortion facilities. So that was beautiful. And by the way, this is Deirdre Cooper's kids. She actually had to, she and her family moved out of state for a while, but they were very excited to share the prayer vigil, and their beautiful children offering on their own the prayers for their peers that have lost their lives, and also for the women and for the workers as well. We also had the Texas Rally for Life that we were happy to participate in. And many of you have seen the My Generation Will End Abortion video. If you haven't, after tonight, not right now while I'm talking, look it up on YouTube. It's an awesome video. There's some familiar faces you might see in there, but it just brings light to the tragedy of abortion and what we've basically seen throughout the laws and everything in our nation since Roe versus Wade was passed over 41 years ago. So we were happy to participate in that, and we always want to use that moment to invite our friends that maybe have never been involved in the pro-life movement before to come over, to the Texas Rally for Life, where there's thousands of people from across the state that are coming to stand for life and glorify God. And there's a lot of booths and stuff there. So come this next January, be on the lookout for the Texas Rally for Life. We will be participating in that. And there's going to be lots of booths. So there's lots of different opportunities for people to get involved in the pro-life movement in general here. And we're very blessed to be a part of that. Moving on to the campaign, the spring campaign that we had 2 full vigils in the spring of 2014 for our 40 Days for Life campaign, and 2 vigils that were 1 day. So as Audrey said, we actually had 4 abortion facilities not very long ago. In the spring, we still had 4, but the numbers actually have been declining as far as the number of prayer volunteers that are coming to the sidewalks and that are signing up. So we recognized that ahead of time, and we had to scale it down to where we would just have 2 full vigils and then 1 day at the other 2 locations. I know that we can do better than this because God is mightier than this, and because we have so many Christians alone in this community in Central Texas beyond Austin. So I want to challenge you tonight to make sure that when you go home, don't just let this be a dinner that you attended and it was nice and it had great food and silent auction items, but tell somebody about it in your circle of friends or your sphere of influence that maybe is not involved, and encourage them somehow to get involved. And maybe that first step is inviting them to go to the sidewalk to pray with you, to pray peacefully. It can do wonders, and I know that it changes a lot of people's lives. I know people I can think of off the top of my head that are in this room tonight, that one invitation is all it took, and it transformed them and allowed them to get the courage to stand for life and to do their part in ending abortion peacefully and prayerfully. So invite people to come to the sidewalks with you. That's the best, that is still the best form of advertisement, is that word of mouth and that personal invitation. We also had the 40 churches for 40 days during that campaign. And if you're not familiar, what 40 churches for 40 days is that is an initiative where we try to get 40 churches in the community to sign up to own 1 day on the sidewalk out of the entire 40 days, and they bring people from their church every single hour to come and pray. Just imagine, we had this past campaign, we had as many as 30 people on the sidewalk praying peacefully on a Saturday morning, a couple of Saturdays that I can think of off the top of my head. And that was in large part because of the churches that had come together and brought more people. To whereas sometimes a person that's involved with that may otherwise never get involved. They may have been invited by their church. Maybe it's hard for them. They live across town and they can't go there every week. But that 1 day they committed and they knew ahead of time. So another challenge I want to challenge you tonight with is making sure that you go to your church leaders. If your church is not already signed up, which, by the way, we have not yet had 40 churches signed up. We've had as many as 15 at the most during this, and I know we can do better than that. All it is one day out of the entire 40 days. So either you step up to be the liaison in your church or go to the church leaders, whoever you need to go to present this to them and let them know that this is a simple yet easy and powerful way to be involved and to stand for life and to possibly save lives as well. So I invite you to do that for 40 churches for 40 days. Now that we are down to 2 facilities, we are in need of that much more. So churches in Georgetown, Round Rock, maybe even Temple, Salado, that far north, they can still sign up for that one day so that they can come and cover that day in prayer on the sidewalk. It can do so many wonders. And I know that it's more difficult. I know that it's more difficult because I had a lot of people saying, gosh, how am I going to sign up to pray now? The 2 facilities in the north part of Austin are closed, and I'm not going to be able to make it over there in time from work or what have you. This is that opportunity. The churches up north and everywhere can sign up for a day, and you go that one time, 40 churches. How amazing would that be? So we are definitely going to be implementing that next spring as well. In May, after the campaign, we had our 2nd annual Ladies for Life brunch, which was phenomenal, if I do say so myself. Any ladies in here that got to attend that? Yeah. So it's super fun. Girls just want to have fun. It's true. That's what we do. We get together and we have a nice brunch. We had a great speaker, Jennifer Fulweiler, who's actually a local speaker, but she travels nationally as well. We're really blessed with the amount of leaders and speakers that we have in our own community. We really are. Jennifer shared her story about being an atheist and converting, being a pro-choice atheist, and eventually reasoning her way into Christianity and to being pro-life. And so she shared her testimony with us. She was phenomenal. And we had a sold-out event. We had 200 women there. And we want to do that again next May. We always have it around Mother's Day, so we're definitely making it an annual thing. Ladies, mark your calendars. Unfortunately, I can't tell you for sure whether it's the first Saturday in May or the second Saturday in May. At this moment, we're still trying to work out the speaker. However, just mark both Saturdays on your calendar so you don't miss it. No big deal, right? Bring your mother, bring your sister, bring your grandmother. It's really, really fun. And we really, really enjoyed that. And then we had our Summer of Life. For those of you who are not familiar, we are actually more than just 80 days of prayer out of the year. We pray all year long. That's what the point of the Central Texas Coalition for Life is supposed to be. And so we have this program where it's called Summer of Life. It's not as intense as 40 Days for Life, but we try to get people to sign up for 1 hour a week every month during the summer. So June, July, and August, sign up for 1 hour, or maybe even once every 2 weeks or once every month, just however you can do it. But having that opportunity to go and pray and still pray for the women and the children in our community on the sidewalk and offer them hope and healing. It's really phenomenal. And again, it's that opportunity because abortions don't stop in our community after 40 Days for Life. We need people to continue to go there. And it shouldn't be weighed heavily just on a select few people, which unfortunately it seems like it is a lot of times. I know there's some sidewalk counselors out here who have gotten many tan lines from spending hours and hours and hours on the sidewalk by themselves. So we want to encourage you to sign up for that hour of prayer. It'll always be on our website. If you don't see it, then you can contact me and say, hey, what's up with this? I want to sign up. And then I will get that taken care of for you. But we do have online schedules. And also wanted to just kind of share something that happened last summer. There was a sidewalk counselor that was praying at the South 35 facility, and a young man got out of his car and started walking towards the door, and he was by himself. The sidewalk counselor approached him. He said that he had actually just brought his sister into the facility a few minutes before that. So the sidewalk counselor tried to talk to him and said, is there anything that I can do to help you guys? Because we have so many facilities and resources in this community that can help her. So I wish I could read. The sidewalk counselor wrote out the story, and it's awesome, but I don't have time to read it. It's a long story. But, the point of the conversation ended up being is that this young man basically said, I'm pro-choice, but personally I'm pro-life. So I don't like that my sister is here. I don't want her to do this, but I do believe that women have a right to do this. And so I asked him about that, and I said, well, women have a right to do what? And he said, well, to have an abortion. And what is an abortion? The sidewalk counselor, I'm speaking for the sidewalk counselor now. So they said, so they kind of concluded that what the abortion procedure was gruesome, was taking an innocent human being and harming women. So the young man agreed to that, but then he said, but what about all these children that are in our community now, like in East Austin, that are abandoned or homeless or they're starving? And the sidewalk counselor said, you're right, I agree, I think that's sad. We should go ahead and just take them out. Wouldn't you agree? And of course, that kind of threw that young man for a loop. Well, what do you mean? Well, if we take them out, if we just get rid of them, that will alleviate their suffering, right? And he said, well, it's not the same. I see what you're getting at, but it's not the same. What's not the same? Because these children are actually here. So the sidewalk counselor says, so by here you mean out of the womb instead of in the womb. Is that correct? Yes, that's what I mean. Okay, and so the change of location is what makes a person have value. Is that correct? Well, no. The conversation went on and on and on. The young man finally came to a better understanding and said, I really am going to, you've given me a lot of things to think about. I appreciate you standing. The conversation lasted for 45 minutes. I appreciate you standing here and talking to me. I wish I could do something about my sister. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. But the sidewalk counselor gave him brochures and said, here, in case she needs this later. And here are some pregnancy resources, too, in case you ever know anyone that comes across this in the future. There is so much better for abortion, for women than abortion. And we have the resources. We can do it. We don't have to have abortion. We don't need it. And, folks, I would get you to ask yourself, do you think that you could have stood out there on the sidewalk and had that conversation, that logical, philosophical conversation with that young man? That's one amazing thing about the Central Texas Coalition for Life. We're not just standing and praying, we're educating. And we have an amazing sidewalk counselor program. And it's not meant just for the sidewalk. You can dialogue anywhere about the abortion issue. And that's why I would encourage you, if you know a sidewalk counselor, ask them about it, encourage them, or ask them if they can go take you to pray with them. And we also have a sign-up form outside that says interested in sidewalk counseling. It's by the registration table or by the for sale table. So go ahead and sign your name if you're interested. It's phenomenal. It's going to give you the tools that you need to have conversations like that, whether you're on the sidewalk or whether you're in a grocery store or you're at a family gathering, whatever the case may be. But when it comes up, you can be better prepared to know how to talk about it. We know, pretty much the majority of us know in here that it's wrong. It's getting to meet the people where they are and talking to them and meeting people where they are in their situation or their mindset and really meeting those needs and finding common ground and getting them to understand everything behind that. So I'd encourage you to do that. Summer was busy. We had a lot of events planned. By the way, I think it's really funny when people say, hey, so summertime, you got some time off now, right? Because you don't have 40 days for life. No, I don't have any time off. We have trainings that we give, not just for sidewalk counselors, but also for pregnancy resource centers. We have a lot of pregnancy centers, adoption agencies, and a couple of maternity homes in the area. And a lot of times the pregnancy centers don't have the experience that we have on the sidewalk with talking more so with abortion-minded women. They also don't have that connection inside the abortion industry with former workers. We have that as people who reach out to former workers. We have that insight into the industry and that knowledge and that help and that referral. And so we can teach the pregnancy centers how to minister to the women that we're sending there. So many great things. We are blessed to partner with groups such as the St. John Paul II Life Center, the South Austin Pregnancy Resource Center, the Diocese of Austin, and Catholic Charities. There's a lot of groups out there that we've been able to partner with to help give these trainings and administer these trainings for pregnancy center counselors as well. And then We had a Conferencia Pro Vida, which was our first to have. And for those of you who don't speak Spanish, that means pro-life conference. And we are recognizing the greater need that we have in order to translate all these great trainings that we have in Spanish. That's all that is. We have the tools, we just need it translated, and we need to be able to give that out to the Spanish-speaking community. So we were blessed to have that with Cristo Rey Catholic Church and opened it up to the community. We had 65 people that came to that very first conference, and that was, that was phenomenal. It gave us the opportunity to share with them not only the basics about fetal development, about the abortion industry, about how to reach out to women, how to get help if you yourself need help, how to find healing if you've had an abortion. And then we had a ministry fair afterwards. So a lot of the community resources were there to get them information to either receive services or to volunteer if they wanted to learn how to volunteer. It's all about networking and making those connections. That's how we're going to end abortion, is networking and working together. All right, and moving along, we had a Round Rock Express game where we had the Coalition for Life sponsor a suite at a baseball game. So that was really fun. We had 40 people there. Some people who hadn't been to the Coalition for Life events or anything like that in a long time got to rekindle that relationship and catch up on what was happening with the Coalition for Life. And it was really fun, as you can see here. We had 40 people, we had our name on the screen, and we just enjoyed a fun, all-American night at a baseball game. We definitely want to do that in July again, so keep on the lookout in our emails for that. And then in August, many of you knew about this and heard about this. We had a Stand for Life prayer vigil. And what that was we know there's a lot of things going on in the legislation process right now with the pro-life movement, right? And so we decided there's a court case that's coming up in the federal courthouse in downtown Austin. What do we do best? We pray. So let's get a prayer vigil together. So we partnered with several local as well as state and national groups to put together the Stand for Life prayer vigil. It was not meant to be a rally. It was meant to be a prayer vigil, and that it was. We had a praise and worship leader. We had 5 different local pastors come and join us from all different faith backgrounds to lead us in prayer. We had moments of silence. We had 500 people from across the state of Texas join us here in Austin for that Stand for Life vigil. And then, Texas Alliance for Life was very huge in putting that together as well. They put together a pro-life primer to help educate people who maybe are not as up to speed on the legislative process. So they had that at the Capitol afterwards, and it was amazing. They had to move the room at the last minute because more people came than they expected, which was amazing. So we're so blessed to have Texas Alliance for Life. Let's give them a round of applause for all the work that they do. In California, Los Angeles, California, just a few weeks after that, Abby and I, our board president, Abby Johnson and I, were blessed to actually give a training for 50 men and women representing 21 pregnancy centers across the state of California, giving a training all day long to share with them the knowledge that we have, the tools that we have in order to better compete with the abortion industry to meet the needs of the women in our community, especially as many states across the country are preparing for the closing of their abortion facilities. Praise God. We've got to do our part. We've got to step up. We've got to educate ourselves. We've got to educate the communities that we're in. And so we were blessed to be asked to put on that training. And that's not something that I get to do, and leaders of the Central Texas Coalition for Life get to do very often, but when we do, boy, is it amazing. I mean, maybe we'll become the universal Coalition for Life eventually or something like that. When they have, people living on Mars, we'll travel there, all that fun stuff. So that was awesome. And then in the fall, of course, we had our 40 Days for Life campaigns again. We had several youth talks, so we were able to give St. Martin de Porres and St. William's Catholic Church the youth talks, and the youth are amazing. If they're any testament to what the future holds, this country is in good hands. And all we simply did was share about what we can do as young people. Young people are amazing, they're powerful, they're smart, and they want to be told the straight facts. They don't want it watered down. They want to be told the truth. And they know, and they are a pro-life generation. We are a pro-life generation. So it was really huge blessing to be able to be a part of that. And then with 40 Days for Life, after that, we had our very first one location vigil campaign that we've had here. That's good and bad. I say that's good and bad because it's good because we are down, as Audrey said, down to two from 4. Unfortunately, we only had one because we were only able to get enough people for one solid prayer vigil. So again, I'm challenging you. Get the word out. Invite your friends. If someone has been involved and they just haven't been out in a while, get them to come back out. We need more prayer volunteers on the sidewalk. Not a single woman who walks into an abortion facility should at least be without a prayer volunteer helping and praying for her and offering her help, no matter what. All business hours of the abortion industry. So that's what we want to do. I do want to thank the Texas Center for Defense of Life. They have had some fun times back and forth with me and the police department and now the state, because some of you may have read, we had a situation with this past campaign where even though we've been through a million times the back and forth about whether or not our signs are legal, we know that they are. We have the city ordinance to prove it. We have a letter signed from the chief of police to prove it. And then one day, the representative from TxDOT came and said, no, you can't have your signs. We're removing them. We stood our ground. We said, no, you're not. And then the abortion clinic director came out and said, hey, you can't keep your signs here. And we said, actually, we know that we can. Is there anything else that you have to say? Can we pray for you about anything? Otherwise, let us get back to our prayer vigil. And he said, no, actually, the state is overriding the city on this one. Is it now? So thank you, Greg Terra and Stephen Casey. They are our legal attorneys for setting the record straight that we are not going to be bullied from being out on the sidewalk. And I tell you, that was the greatest affirmation that I could receive. The fact that our signs must have been so effective that they tried to get to the state to go over the city to get our signs removed, and we are not going to let it stand. It's fun. Lots of pregnancy centers report that they have more clients when we're there. And the best sign that we see so far is the free pregnancy test, free sonogram sign. That must be the one that the abortion industry hates because it's taking away their business. And you may have heard that we were blessed to have another clinic worker leave this year. Another local clinic worker. She is amazing. We've had some conversations. Of course, she's been connected with And Then There Were None, which is the ministry started by our board president to help those like her out of the industry and find hope and healing. This woman is amazing. She has such great faith. And she had this one thing for me to share with you guys. You are more present than you realize. You are more present than you realize. She said, your presence there stirs up so much and stirs up consciences. I'm getting excited and a dry throat. And it really is effective with these women and what they're going through. So thank you and keep doing what you're doing. Praise God for that.